Hello again, I am Blunty, and I'm here with the magnificently talented Sam Witwer, otherwise known as Starkiller, from Force Unleashed 2, and of course Force Unleashed 1, but that goes without saying, really. How are you, mate?
I'm good, how are you?
Tired, not so bad. It's been an exhausting day. Fun day, though. Touring the facilities, checking everything out. So, now, you're the lead role in the Force Unleashed as Starkiller.
Yes.
But I want to just go off on the side right now. You also do the voice of Palpatine in this game, don't you?
I do Palpatine, yes.
So was that something you auditioned for, or you were in the recording booth and you were going, hey guys, I can do this as well?
During the read-through of Force Unleashed 1, I was bugging David Collins about it a lot, the guy who plays Proxy, and he was the audio lead for Force Unleashed 1, and I said, look, I said to them very boldly in a read-through, I said, look, if you're not going to get Ian McDermott to do this, the guy that plays Palpatine, I'll do it. And they said, well, we already got a guy. I'm like, I know, I'll do it. You know, and they said, well, you can't do that. And then eventually Hayden Blackman goes, oh, go ahead, Sam. There's the lines right there, do them. And I was like, oh, no. so
they called your bluff.
But eventually, you know, and so I said whatever. Let's promise it would have been my successor, my equal, you know, and something like that. And they went for it. And for me, that was really fun because Palpatine is like my favorite villain of all time.
Yeah, and he's really fun to do as well. That voice is just fun to do, and the power.
The dark side. Yeah.
What sort of character is more fun for you to play? The sort of the troubled good guy like Starkiller, or just the out-and-out bad guys?
Well, I think I like the troubled good guy. I seem to get that role quite a bit. I'm doing that on Being Human right now as well. But the bad guys can be fun as well. I mean, Palpatine is interesting because he is evil. He is evil. He's about as evil as you get, and so that in itself is its own acting challenge to make that compelling. But you know, yeah, Starkiller or Aiden in Being Human, or I can see you wearing a Superman shirt.
Oh, yes.
Davis Bloom. Yeah, these are guys that have, you know, they have some things to work out, some issues.
So what is it with you playing like super-powered, freak, troubled
I think
loners?
it's the Cro-Magnon brow. I think they like, oh, this guy's got problems. I'm like, yeah, it's evolutionary problems.
The brooding stare.
Yeah,
The smile.
right. I'm actually smiling right now. It's this makes me look like I'm not. No, yeah, I don't know what it is. They're good roles though. They're challenging, if nothing else. You know, we'll see.
You got to sort of help create Starkiller with the first one. What did you do to push him in the second installment here?
What didn't we do to push him? I mean, this guy is dragged through the dirt in incredible ways in this next story. I mean, he is, you know, Starkiller. I've always. I want to say I've always felt, but no, I didn't always feel this way. This is 20/20 hindsight, and in fact, this was sparked by something that Simon Pegg said to me once. Starkiller, I think, maybe the reason people respond to this character is that he is a 21st century Star Wars protagonist. In the 70s, you had a lot of cynicism, but then you had Luke Skywalker, you know, salt of the earth. He's a farm boy, and he's naive, and he's impatient. He's got some flaws, but he goes on his hero's journey and becomes a man. Well, Starkiller is also kind of Luke Skywalker, except he's Luke Skywalker who is living under the tremendous weight and pressure of this gigantic empire that is manipulating him and telling him what to think, what to do, how to behave, how to live his life. And I think a lot of people these days, I think our version of cynicism, in the 70s I can't speak to it, I wasn't really there, I was kind of there, I was a baby. But these days, I don't know that the media machine was ever as powerful as it is these days, where there's just such white noise and you don't know what to listen to or whom is telling you the truth and who is lying to you, and all you get is this very sickening feeling that you're being pushed around, manipulated a little bit. Yeah, manipulated. I mean, I don't want to get too political, but that is how we feel, I think. And Starkiller, yeah, he's got this. He's in the same position. He's controlled by this empire, and he's got a terrible relationship with his adopted father. I mean, these are all elements that, if you take the metaphor just a little bit out of the Star Wars realm, I think they're things people can relate to. And so in the first game, it was about where Luke Skywalker goes on his hero's journey, Starkiller has to shed all of this before he can really begin becoming who he is meant to become. And the thing is, the first game is about shedding all that, getting rid of it, after being betrayed and lied to get rid of all that and make one choice at the end that was actually truly his own, because everything else he does is Vader's call. And then in this one, okay, he shed it, he did it, and now it's like, well, yeah, but who is he then? He asks himself, who am I? And it's a big identity story at that point, now that he's moved beyond what he moved beyond in the first one. So
kind of like moving into the teenage years, it's time to rebuild a personality.
Yes, because this is, after all, a character whose emotional growth was stunted at age 5. And one of the wonderful things I think about the story is, the love story, the so-called love story in the first game wasn't really a love story, it was a crush story. But it was a crush from the point of view of someone like, I think my first crush, I was probably 10, right? Starkiller's first crush he was like 21, and he was already a man. He was this incredibly efficient assassin, and he'd been through all this terrible stuff, damaged psyche. I mean, just a man who didn't have a normal life. And he met this girl and had these feelings for her, but it was always under the surface. He didn't know what to do with them, and she wasn't admitting anything. And then finally, in the end, when he makes that one choice that I mentioned for himself, and he's going to dive down to his death, essentially, dive down to the Death Star and save the day, and he knows he's not coming back. And right then, she kisses him. And it's his first kiss ever, So you can imagine that if your first kiss was at 21, after everything that he's been through, that would have a profound effect, and it does. As you see in this game, he is quite obsessed with that. That is part of the identity that he is trying to forge. That's a big part of it. That this woman somehow made him made the shard of conscience inside him grow a little bit and affect him, and he is now looking to see if he can figure out what that's about, and where does that take him next. So that's the fun thing about the love. I think this one is really more of the love story.
Right.
Oddly, the first one was a crush story. This one, I think, is the love story.
I must be honest, because I read the synopsis of the first game before I even played it, and I was prepared to write off the love story as just another jammed-in love story. You get these things where they jam it in just for the sake of having it there. But,
exactly.
And, I'm going to rub your ego a bit here, but if it wasn't for the performances of the cast, it would have been just that, but it was the performances that made that rich.
Well, thank you. I mean, we did,
difference.
Because we did consciously, and Hayden Blackman really wanted us to do it, that crush needed to be throughout the entire game. Any moment where you could see that these characters had some budding affection for each other, you needed to be aware of that, or at least subconsciously so. I think some people, one or two people have come up to me and said, "Oh, love story was really thin in that." I'm like, it's not a love story. No. This is a guy who's never seen a woman before. How does he deal with that? How can he have a love story? He can't. But what he can do is decide to sacrifice everything to save her and a bunch of people. And if he gets a kiss, well, that sets us up for the next game. What does that do to him, along with everything else and everything he's been through with his adopted father, Darth Vader? So that's the fun thing.
If you had one sentence to tell people why they should go out and play this game, what would it be?
Star Wars is already over the top. This is the over-the-top version of over the top. I mean, the things in this game, emotionally, it's over the top. I mean, we take this character to places that were, frankly, absolutely exhausting for me to perform, and hopefully that's satisfying for the audience. And then, in terms of the action, same thing. It's just we've gone so much further than we did in the first game, to the point where we create this Starkiller as this unstoppable force, and we've kept selling that in the first game. Well, so in this one, we've created some challenges where even Starkiller goes, I got nothing. I don't even know what to do, so that's the fun of this.
All right, we've got to finish up now, but just one more thing.
Yeah.
I was watching another journalist play the game in the break room. He sucked at it, really badly. What advice do you have for people playing? How do they get into the Starkiller spirit, the attitude that will help them in the game?
Use the Force, damn it. That's the way. That's how you do it. Yeah.
All right, thanks very much, mate.
Thank
You're
you.
wonderful.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers.
Cheers.